We all know that feeling when you suddenly realize your little brother isn't so little anymore, or when your 13-year-old cousin suddenly has a beard, meanwhile your face is still smoother than a baby's behind, or when your younger sister is constantly being mistaken to be the older sister. You see, no matter how you look at it, kids are growing up fast. Some would say maybe a little too fast. And I'm not just talking about how they look, because the truth is kids have always wanted to grow up. That's normal. I did when I was younger. You probably did too. Every generation has always wanted to be older. We all wanted to drive cars, stay up late, make our own money, and finally stop hearing our mom saying, oh, you can't do so and so because I said so. But here's the thing, wanting to grow up and rushing through childhood are two completely different things. Somewhere along the way, it stopped being about looking forward to adulthood, and it started to feel like kids were trying to become adults as quickly as humanly possible. And honestly, I think we're watching childhood disappear in real time. When I was younger, there was no pressure to have your life figured out when you were 12. You were just a kid, literally. Like, your biggest concern was supposed to be your homework and school and whether or not your friend is going to come out to play or not. But now, however, it's a whole different ballgame because kids feel they need to speed run life. We have 8-year-olds out here having different crazy expensive skincare routines. We have 10-year-olds caring about buying APs and Lamborghinis. Middle schoolers are talking about relationships like they're freaking 25 years old when they're like 11. Kids are worried about how they look online before they have even figured out who they are as a person. And it's like everyone wants to jump straight to adulthood without realizing adulthood is not exactly the fairy tale that everybody makes it out to be. And I honestly would say social media is a big reason that this is happening. I honestly think social media has aged kids overnight. When we were younger, our role models were people we had actually met. Our older brother, our dad, an older cousin, a teacher maybe. Now, however, a lot of 10-year-olds will open TikTok and they can spend hours watching influencers who are like twice their age because they see luxury lifestyles, they see perfect faces, perfect bodies, perfect relationships. They see these perfect lives that are much more entertaining than their boring lives. A notable example of this is actually Andrew Tate. A few years back when his clips were everywhere, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you cannot open a social media app without seeing Andrew Tate. And whether we like it or not, whether we want to admit it or not, Andrew Tate actually inspired a lot of people. To be fair, he did inspire them in a negative way because, spoiler alert, Andrew Tate was not a good person. But whether we like it or not, he did have a certain level of status and fame that every kid aspired to emulate. Just imagine after seeing that kind of lifestyle online every single day. Being a kid actually starts to feel boring because they start to think to themselves, why play outside when I could try to become an influencer? Why enjoy middle school when I could try to be like Andrew Tate? Kids aren't comparing themselves with other kids anymore. They're comparing themselves to adults. And honestly, that's a game that they are never going to win. But here's the funny part, that they're not going to know until they get older. Everyone wants to grow up until they actually do. Almost every kid wants to grow up. That's normal. That's part of life. But then you become an adult and you realize that adulthood is not what it's cut out to be. Like, for real, because you have to think about rent. You have to think about getting a job. You have to think about keeping the job. Because if you don't, you're not going to have a roof over your head. You're not going to have food on your table. And then in the midst of your internal day-to-day crisis, you just hear a Cartoon Network theme song. And suddenly you experience what we call nostalgia. You are taken back to a time where things were simpler. Then you realize that being a kid wasn't actually that bad. It was actually kind of amazing. And it's funny because as kids, we spend years wishing time would move a lot faster than it did. And then we become adults and spend the rest of our lives wishing that time could just slow the fuck down. I don't think a lot of kids are just growing up faster. I think they are performing adulthood. There are kids worrying about locking in, building personal brands, getting rich before 20, which on its own is not really a bad thing, but you get what I mean. A lot of kids are also in the looks maxing community, which, if we're being honest, that place is toxic as fuck. That's not where a growing child should be a part of. That community is cancer to the fucking earth. And a lot of kids, honestly, are just worried about the wrong things. Like, bro, you are freaking 7. Go ride a bike or something. Go play football. Go do literally anything else that doesn't involve optimizing your jawline to look like a giga child. Like, bro, a lot of these kids are worried about the wrong things and they do not know that until they actually grow older. And they look back at their time as a kid and be like, damn, I actually didn't live. I actually did not enjoy my childhood. I was too obsessed with the wrong things. Of course, I can't make this kind of video without acknowledging the role the internet played in all of this. The internet actually encourages all of this. It encourages kids to look more mature because the more mature you look, the more attention you get. And the more grown up you act, the more engagement you get overall. Kids learn really, quickly, and they have learned that acting older gets them rewarded on social media. So they just keep doing doing it until one day they wake up at 18, 19, 20, and they realize they never actually got to enjoy what it was like to be 12, and they want to go back to being 12 again. But the sad part is you only get one childhood. You cannot rewind it. You cannot buy another one. You cannot relive it. And you have to come to terms with the fact that one day your favorite game becomes nostalgic. One day your favorite TV show becomes one of the classics. It becomes a part of the good old days. And before you know it, you are the adults watching another generation grow up. Maybe that's just how life works. Every generation wanted to grow up. But maybe instead of asking kids to be more like adults, we should just let them be kids for a little longer, because adulthood isn't going anywhere. Childhood is. And once it's gone, it's never coming back, bro.